Ishibon going in the house, back with another bang on video. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would really like to tell you guys how exactly Arsenal are back again linked with Joe Hart. Well, Joe Hart looks destined to end his uneventful spell at Burnley and look for a one final move away to kickstart his career again. But the former England number one moved to Turf Moor in 2018 but had just made 24 appearances and does not look really, one of the most important guy. But not only this, he was, tricked into a move to the Emirates and would likely mean that, he's quite frustrated that the former Manchester City keeper does not get a regular game time. So here are the odds of where exactly Joe Hart could land up towards the end of this season. Well, let's see. Well, not only this, let's talk about Arsenal. Arsenal are actually battling, as I already mentioned, that we were battling Bayern Munich for the signature of teen striking sensation Emil Robak, the Swedish ace who's 17 years of age, is now interesting a lot of clubs. But the club director Jesper Janssen has actually told a specific publication that there is a strong interest. He has also been to Arsenal. Yes, I understand the interest. He is forward with a great physique and speed and already a skilled scorer. Ray Paula is not happy with Aubameyang. He says no one is bigger than the club. So Ray Parler is desperate to see PM Rick Aubameyang sign a new Arsenal contract. So Ray Parler says Mikel will sit down with him and say, we desperately want to keep you at the club. But as a player, if he doesn't want to stay and says he wants Champions League football, you've then got to make a big decision. No one is bigger than the club. And I know he's a very important player and I would love to see him stay, but the players have got the power now. They can put clubs in corners where they have to make big decisions about whether to keep them and let their contract run out, like they did with Aaron Ramsey, or they say how much can we get for him and then try and replace him. The issue facing Arsenal, however, is that Aubameyang's value will have plummeted given that he has just 1 year left on his contract and the clubs across the world will have all been hit financially by the coronavirus pandemic as well. So further on, he says, from Arsenal's point of view, financially it would be better if you keep him because you know he's a proven goal scorer, you know he's settled and that he plays well most weeks and that you have to replace him if you sell. I don't know how much he would be worth now in the market. You see Werner go for £55 million, but people forget he's got his wages on top of that. If he's on 200k a week wages, that's another 10 million a year. So you have to weigh the whole situation up, and you never know whether who you buy in the to replace him is going to hit the ground running and if they can handle the Premier League or not. So in an ideal world, he signs a new 3 or 4 year contract, but Aubameyang might be thinking, I've got 3 or 4 years left at the top level. I want to play Champions League football now, and Arsenal can't guarantee him that at the moment. And players usually get their own way in the era. I'm afraid if a player wants to go, he usually leaves, but I'm hoping that they can come to an agreement and Aubameyang stays. Well, Manchester United are closing in on signing of Jack Grealish. Grealish has already been linked with Chelsea, Arsenal and a host of other clubs as well. But Manchester City are also keen on the Aston Villa captain. But United have intensified their interest with Angel Gomez set to depart. Gomez has turned down a new deal worth around £300,000 a week to stay at Old Trafford, so you can understand where exactly things are turning out wrong for them. Well, I would really like to share a post wherein Joe Willock was mocked. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, these are the two sections of comments which were posted in a post which actually spoke about Joe Willock. So people are not liking what Joe Willock is doing, and that is really going harsh, isn't it? But Paul Merson and Alan Smith have actually destroyed Mesut Ozil. Well, I've never seen Paul Merson actually wrecking Mesut Ozil like that. He says, I think Ozil is a prime example of a player who has to play in a proper team that is going to be right up there, dominating football matches. He's got to play in a majorly successful team. He can't play in this Arsenal team. Here's why. He's not going to change his game now in his 30s, and Arsenal aren't going to change their game for him. He isn't tracking back, chasing players, and you need him in a team where you're getting 70% of the ball each week and he'll play. You get players around him, let him play. We all know how Ozil plays. You give him the ball and he'll find you. If you don't have the ball, he won't win it back for you for love or no money. He's not interested when they don't have the ball. How can you give someone 350k a week when we all know that was his style of play? If he hasn't got the ball, he's one of the worst players in the world. I would say that. Name me a worst player in the world when their team doesn't have the ball. I've never seen somebody so disinterested when they don't have the ball, but he hurts you at the other end. When you all know how Ozil plays, you give him the ball and it just happens. I can understand what Paul Merson has to say here, but can Arsenal form a team around him? At the moment, it's at that stage where you can't do that. They're not going to change the team for him. He'll pick up his 350k a week and everything is rosy for him. They have to come to a deal with him. Maybe he'll take 200k a week somewhere else. I don't know how this gets resolved though. Does he want to play football? If he loves football, he has to come to a deal with Arsenal. But it's easy to say that. Nobody wants to lose 150k a week, no matter how much you earn. Who is mad enough to throw that money away, no matter who you are? But Alan Smith believes Arteta has shown strong management in not picking Ozil in the recent games. He says, it seems that Arteta wants to draw a line under it and convince the players he's not part of the plans. And he's passed the buck to Ozil and said, what do you want to do about it? Hopefully leave the club would be Arteta's reasoning. That would free up a bit of money in terms of his wages. It's always going to be a talking point for as long as Ozil's at the club. I don't know whether anything could happen in this transfer window. There aren't too many links in with any clubs. We might end up having this situation for another year until his contract runs out. He might get used now and again, but he won't be a core figure in his plans. It's something Arteta could have done without. He's got enough on his plate without constant questions about the Germans' future, but Arteta is decisive. If he decides somebody doesn't fit in going forward, no matter how much they're earning, he's not going to pick them. That's strong management, and I think Arsenal need that. Well, talking more about it, let's talk about someone special, and that is Felipe Coutinho. Well, the agent Kia Joorabchian is desperately seeking a new club for him because Bayern Munich will not exercise an option of actually getting him on loan or probably buy him on a permanent transfer from Barcelona. Barcelona recently signed Miralem Pjanic, so it looks like they don't want Felipe Coutinho at all. So it's pretty much clear that he would be searching a new club for his client, Felipe Coutinho, and Arsenal look like a perfect destination for the Brazilian midfielder. Well, talking about another Brazilian, Arsenal are coming in for Thiago Silva again. Arteta has been in contact with the centre-back, and guess who has helped him? Well, David Luiz. More on it, keep watching the video. Emiliano Martinez says, I came here from a young age and always with one goal, to play the most matches in this beautiful club. Today it is my turn. I'm doing it in a very responsible way and I'm proud to represent my country in one of the best teams. I always like playing with my feet. Modern football suits me very well. If you watch Arsenal games, the goalkeeper starts the game. Well, the exchange of Thiago Silva is facilitated by one man, David Luiz, as I said before, a former teammate of Thiago Silva's at Paris Saint-Germain. He would have served as an intermediary and would have pushed for his compatriots' arrival in London. The 35-year-old centre-back is also being targeted by Carlo Ancelotti. He is keen on playing in the Premier League, despite his age. Well, Arsenal are preparing for a deep squad restructuring and is looking like the La Liga for reinforcements, like Marc Roca, Carlos Soler and Anis Bardi to shore up the midfield. But let's see. Well, talking about Mikel Arteta's press conference about Saliba, he says, I know how high the expectations are big around him. But we have to bear in mind the age that he's at and what he's done in the past. I'll make sure we create the right environment for him so he can keep growing as a player. And also, talking about Saka and Fowler and Balogun, Arteta said, I'm not worried because I know the club is trying to keep them. They know how much I like working with them and hopefully we can find agreements with them. Thomas Partey is actually watching stories of Arsenal fans. Well, here's one of the fans actually sharing that Thomas Partey watched his stories and it's pretty much clear that he is actually interested in Arsenal fan pages. Well, talking about Guendouzi and Ozil, whether they are still a part of the plan, Arteta says, I said that everybody that I have in the squad, my job is to get maximum out of them and to try to help them and support them. If they are willing, everybody is welcome. And talking about Arteta actually confirmed during his press conference that Arsenal have an agreement with Saint-Etienne to allow William Saliba to play in the Coupe de France final against Paris Saint-Germain next month. He was also warned over placing too much expectation on the teenager from next season right away at Arsenal. Well, talking about Cedric Soares, Mikel Arteta said something really positive and probably too much. He's rating Cedric too high, I guess. He says he's a different quality in the fullback area than what we have. He's a gifted technical player and is probably the best we have in the final third to make the right decision and attack the box as well. And talking about on whether his midfielders need to improve their goal or assist output, he says absolutely. If we talk about playing with two attacking midfielders even more, they have to be a threat constantly, a threat in the box and the final third, assisting, getting chances to score and provide. And that's really great, isn't it? Well, there's one more. I'm so sorry. Arsenal said to have made offer to sign winger Jolson Fernandes. Gunners, they believe that they had faced initial rejection, and the agent, who is none other than Kia Joorabchian, will help. Well, 2021 African Cup of Nations, which was due to be held in January 2021, has been postponed until January 2022. And talking about Tierney, Arteta said he's exactly what we need. He's the type of player I love. The Tesco bag is Kieran. He is a very humble guy and does what he feels is right. It's really great, isn't it? Because Sporting rejected Arsenal and Dortmund's offer for Jolson Fernandes. The player has now agreed a new contract extension until 2025 with a release clause of 60 to 80 million euros. Kia has a good relationship with Arsenal, so a transfer could happen in the future, but it's really highly unlikely in the recent present. Well, these were the news of the day. I hope you enjoyed whatever came your way. All the views and news and everything about Arsenal comes on this platform every single day, twice. So sit back, relax, and enjoy all the news that comes on this platform. We are on a mission of reaching 5,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon, because when you do that, you get 2 videos about Arsenal every single day. I will see you in my next video. Until then, cheers.